Greetings, Karen Clay. Thanks for joining me for Somatic Unwinding, another version of the Feldenkrais method, my own version. So let's begin with our second hip lesson. Let's start in standing. So just arrive on your feet and notice what your state is today. Maybe it's the end of the day and you're feeling pulled down. You feel like you don't have any support, you can't find it. Maybe today it's at the beginning of the day and the sun is shining and you've just had a walk and you're feeling a little bit lighter, a little bit more buoyant. So begin to shift forward and back. Find the place where you feel the tallest, where you feel like you can capture some rebound from the ground, like the rebound from a diving board, that brings you into your full height without using a bunch of muscles to hold yourself up. Then do the same thing right to left, noticing do you go up in the middle and down on the right and up in the middle and down on the left? Or do you go up in the middle and down on the right and up in the middle and up on the left? What's that like for you? And then just meander around and see if you can find the best place for you to stand right now. And then let's come on over to the wall. We're going to work against the wall again, just like we did last week. This time we're going to be sideways to the wall. And I want to tell you that I can't tell you exactly how you need to lie for this. You have to really pay attention to yourself and trust yourself. And don't think you have to do it like me or be like me. All right? So we are going to lie sideways to the wall. You're still going to have your bolsters around in case you need them. Yeah, so these two. For me, I like to be about 8 to 10 inches away from the wall. And then I just put one leg up the wall. The idea of this working against the wall is that not only do we go down into the ground, but we also go in. So we're driving the head of the femur into the hip joint. So you want to be at a slant. For some people who have tight adductors, they're going to want to be right up here. That's going to be most comfortable for them. Some people are going to want to be 4 inches out. Some people feel like it's hard to hold their leg up and they're going to want to really prop themselves up against the wall. Okay? And again, if your leg is very tight and you're uncomfortable, then just add a bolster under your leg. That's totally fine. I don't need it, so I'm not going to use it. So here you start with your leg just right here and the other knee bent. So I don't really care which leg you use. I'm just going to talk about the wall leg and the bent leg. And that way you could be on whichever side you want to be on. So what does it feel like? And you're going to have to adjust yourself because you want to really feel like you don't have to hold yourself there. But like it's propped. You know how when you build a house of cards, you prop 2 cards on each other. That's exactly that idea, that your leg is propped against the wall and all the forces are going both straight down and inward towards your midline, towards the center of your hip socket. Good. So now begin to slide the outside of your foot along the wall in the direction of your feet. And then slide the foot upward in the direction of your head. Only go where it's comfortable. This is an incredibly rare opportunity for you to feel what it's like for your hip joint to be deepening in the joint. There's really nothing else it can do but get more snug, more cozy in the joint. Often when we have pain in the joint, it's because the head of the femur bone is not deep enough in the joint. And then when you move, you bump up against cartilage and then the cartilage starts to fray, or you bump up against some part of the joint and then you start to develop arthritis. And that's the sad story of the hip replacement. So just let this be easy. And you can pause at any moment that you want that's comfortable for you. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to let the knee flex and fall down the wall. And so when you bend your knee in, you may need to get yourself closer. That's something you will decide. But what you want to find is a place where your knee can fold, where you're completely at rest. And I'm going to show you with this hand just so you can see. You can put your elbow on the floor and rest your knee in your hand so that you don't have to go any further than is comfortable for you. This is a resting position. It's a resting position where you don't have to do any work. And once again, your femur bone is driving into the sweet spot of the hip joint. Go ahead and straighten your knee. And then bend your knee and prop it with your hand if you wish. You don't have to. It's just an option to make yourself more comfortable. And then with the knee bent, would you press with the bent leg, the foot that's on the ground, and roll your pelvis towards the wall? Would you do that several times? So you're closing the space between your pelvis and your inner thigh as you roll your pubic bone, that's the front bottom of the pelvis, towards the wall. So what does that feel like? What's happening in the rest of you? Do you notice that your head is rolling along with the movement? Now roll in the opposite direction. So you're going to open your knee and back to the middle, and open your knee and back to the middle. So now you're opening this part of your pelvis between your groin and your pubic bone. And do that several times, noticing what happens to the rest of your spine, if it accompanies the movement or stays still. And then go back and forth between knee out and knee in, and knee out and knee in, and knee out and knee in, and knee out and knee in. Good. Let's leave that. Let yourself down on the floor and just take a moment to feel the difference between your two hip joints, which is probably pretty considerable. Just checking the time. And so let's start over on the other side. So turn yourself around, bend one knee, bring the other leg up to the wall. Notice if this feels different than the other side, and begin to swing the foot on the wall so you're drawing a rainbow or making an arc with your foot. The objective of this is not to go as far as you can go. It's to move in such a way that your hip joint gets the message that the direction of force is inward towards the midline and back into the floor. And you're just experiencing it in slight different locations. Go ahead and let your knee bend slightly. So it bends as you bring your foot towards your shoulder, and it straightens as you move it away. And you bend your knee and bring it to your shoulder, and you straighten it and move it away. So you continue to do that. And then let the knee bend and hold on, propping it with your hand if you wish. That'll just give it, you can hold it with both legs if you want, both hands, sorry. So that just gives it a little more support, and you can relax more. If you're very flexible, you may want to get a little closer to the wall so that you can find the place where the leg is propped up in such a way that you don't have to do anything. And you get to let the head of that femur drive into the very deepest part of the socket. Now push with your opposite foot, the one that's on the floor, and roll into the wall, and do that several times. So you're closing the space between the legs and the pelvis. And you're doing that mostly in relationship to the pubic bone and the inner thighs on both sides. And then do the opposite and roll out and push through your wall foot a little bit. So you push through your floor foot and then you push through your wall foot just a tiny bit, just so you can roll in the opposite direction. Good. Now on this side, let's bring both knees together and then bring both knees apart as you roll away. So you roll towards the wall and bring your wall knee inward like you're pigeon toeing it. Then you open the floor knee out and press with your wall foot. So you roll away from the wall. Then you roll towards the wall, roll your knee towards the wall, roll the wall that's up the foot that's up the wall toward inward. So your knees together, you roll towards the wall. Knees apart, you roll away from the wall. Knees together, you roll towards the wall. Knees apart, you roll away from the wall. Good. So let that go. Let's quickly turn around and do that version on the other side. So you're next to the wall with your knee bent, and you're going to roll into the wall and then press with the foot and roll away from the wall. Roll into the wall by pressing the foot that's on the floor, then roll away from the wall by pressing the foot that's on the wall. So you're rolling into the wall and out of the wall, and into the wall and out of the wall. And now you're going to change it. You're going to bring your knees together and roll into the wall. And you're going to bring your knees apart and roll out of the wall. Knees together, roll to the wall, knees apart. I'm pushing on sort of the outside of my little toe. That's more comfortable for me because of this glitch I have in my hip joint, but you can keep your whole foot on the wall, the outside edge of your foot. You can make it however you want so that it's comfortable. All right, so move away from the wall and roll to your side and come up to sitting and bring yourself up to stand. And we'll take a minute to do our baseline, our post-test baseline. So find your feet and just notice what you notice about the solidity, the support that you feel actually in your hip joints. Maybe you feel those more clearly. Maybe you feel like you've got a little more support and that when you move forward and back, you have a freer range where you're taller. And same thing when you're moving right and left, that you have a freer, sort of more open ability to find support. So we'll end there. I'm going to end, and I'd like you to just take a little bit of a walk around your room before you go back to your day. Thanks for joining me and watching and supporting me.